When I went to university, I became very lost, was drinking, doing all sorts on the weekends. And at that point, I didn't really have any passion or purpose. Always imposter syndrome, always this fear of failure. I've done a lot of mindset coaching around it. Having failed in something in my previous endeavor in football, I kind of carried that into my thought process, my mindset from that.
People do, I feel, get into this trap of thinking that it is a tomorrow thing or day after thing, and yet there was a lot of volume in terms of effort and sacrifices.
Now just under 300 clients, you are going to have to do 50, 60, 70-hour weeks. There is no balance. I'm not interested in short-term gain. I want to really accelerate the progress now, and that's why I came on board with you.
Jack Jacques is an international transformation coach and founder of JJ Transformations. Once a skinny kid seeking confidence, he's helped over 1,000 people transform their bodies. Today, he's here to share insights and everything he's learned on his journey to success.
High multi-six figures, closing on 7-figure mark. For me, it's not just about the money, it's the impact that can bring. Over time, we just layered that on. So maybe 2 appointment setters, 2 coaches, 3 coaches. I've probably spent over 100,000 on mentors easily now.
The aggressive mindset is what's needed for a lot of people. People chase freedom without the constraints, and people want the comfort without the pain.
You can build a very, very successful business, but literally just having a few thousand followers, if you can nurture those followers properly. You need to still do the marketing, you still need to do the sales, because you're going to get left behind. The competition now is so important, and everyone's raising the bar. So if you are an amazing coach and you...
Welcome to Hypergrowth. We're joined by JJ. JJ, we've been working together for a while. You have a lot of experience, knowledge in the space, and very, very skilled entrepreneur as well. So looking forward to having brilliant insights from you, of course, value shared from your side, about how you actually got to where you are.
Yeah, my name is Jack Jacques. I run a business called JJ Transformations. I've been in the space now for nearly coming up to 9 years since I was fitness coaching. So I started becoming a personal trainer at 16 years old, was literally just qualified straight out of playing football to a relatively high level. That didn't work out, and then I kind of went to university, qualified as personal trainer, and kind of got did a couple of years PT part-time, and then when I went to university, that's kind of where I made the step from full-time. When I went to university, I became very lost, was drinking, doing all sorts on the weekends, and at that point, I didn't really have any passion or purpose, and that's kind of where I discovered coaching. I literally really skilled at it over a few years and became the head trainer at the gym in Liverpool. By that time, I was 20, 21. And then obviously COVID happened, and that's where my online coaching career began. So I didn't really use social media up until about 21 years old. And then up until now, I'm nearly turning 26. We've built a coaching team now just under 300 clients. There's a team of 9. My goal really with the brand is to be one of the global body transformation brands for men, really, and make massive impact, massive change, not only for my life, my staff's life, but also my client's life as well.
Love it. And I can only imagine there were a lot of challenges on the way. So fill us in, at each stage, what was, let's say, your biggest bottleneck?
I think initially it's confidence. When you're first coming in, becoming a personal trainer, it's confidence of what you actually can do, with the results you can achieve. And once I'd stacked up in a significant amount of social proof results, I began to charge more. I started charging when I was online, £80 a month, £100 a month, and then that slowly progressed from there. So I think it's always been self-belief for me, in terms of always imposter syndrome or always this fear of failure. I've done a lot of mindset coaching around it. Having failed in something in my previous endeavor in football, I kind of carried that into my thought process, my mindset from that. So I think that's always been a massive challenge and a fear of mine as I progress through. But there's always the entrepreneurial challenges of, hiring your first coach, hiring your first setter. For me now, it's hiring my first closer. Well, effectively, having failed, I've done that 3 times before. So as the journey goes on, it's not the fact it gets any easier. It's just the fact that you have a little bit more leverage, a little bit more time, a little bit more resources available, a bit more experience. And I thrive on challenge now. If I don't expect business to go well every month, and I don't expect to have record months, but I chase the growth now, and it's more of an addiction to get better and improve. Once it was, how can I be the very, very best body transformation coach I can be? Now it's, how can I be the best leader for my team and turn up every single day in the highest capacity, really.
People fail to think at that capacity and, first of all, know that it is the mindset shift that's needed to make the entrepreneur. And also people do, I feel, get into this trap of thinking that it is a tomorrow thing or day after thing, and forget that there was a lot of volume in terms of effort and sacrifices. So what would you say were the biggest sacrifices that you had to make to get to where you are now?
I think in the earlier days, it was you had to become someone that your friends aren't. So when I was 20, 21, getting into it, my friends go out on the weekend still, go out drinking, and you almost have to kind of separate the old you to the new you. If you want to do things that you've not done before. You have to become that person. So you're going to have to, reduce socializing, going out, drinking, taking drugs, whatever that may be for some people, and really focus on personal development and growth. And every single level you go, you realize there is more and more sacrifice involved. If you want to perform at the highest level as a coach for your clients, for your staff, whatever, there's a lot of sacrifice you need to leave behind. And you do need to, you can still have a life, of course, but that balance becomes less and less and less. And I think as you realize that, you are going to have to do 50, 60, 70-hour weeks. There is no balance initially. When you're trying to scale a business, when you're trying to build a great physique, it's the exact same in that initial stages. If you want to make insane progress, you have to give up a lot. And I'm not going to say here it's been really easy, because it's absolutely not. I get challenges every single day with both physique development. I'm building a business, but you have to make it if you really want to accelerate progress. And I'm not just talking making good progress. I'm talking really accelerate. I'm not interested in short-term gain. I want to really accelerate the progress now. And that's why I came on board with you.
The aggressive mindset is what's needed for a lot of people. People chase freedom without the constraints, and people want the comfort without the pain. And before you came to ourselves, where were you struggling with that would say limit your growth?
I'd probably say team management of my team, making sure we had the right processes in place. I wasn't really meeting up with them. Like there's a daily meeting now, if not 3 or 4 times a week minimum with the team. The training, the level of detail is what it is. Like, it's okay having an SOP, but the level of detail that you go into the SOP is really, really important. Even like from a productivity standpoint with me, like the little things you've given me, my focus, my energy now is completely dialed in compared to where it used to be. I think that's probably one of the biggest things that a lot of people don't realize. Your routine management and what you do, where you spend most of your energy. If you're working on the business in the first few hours of the day and you're making big shifts, that's going to compound over time. If you're going into it and you're having a slow morning, you're not really doing a lot. For me, those first 3 hours a day between 6 and 9 are crucial. So like diary management, prioritizing my time, buying my own back time. Like I've just hired like an executive assistant now, to buy myself back more time, and getting a sales closer on board to get myself out of the business to focus on growing it again. So it's just all been these little shifts that I knew I needed to do, but I didn't know how to implement it into the level of detail that you've taught me.
If we streamline the path, I think that's a goal achieved on our end. On my end, all I really want to see is like high executors, high performers like yourself have the right information, so something that undoubtedly you would have done in, let's say, a year would be compressed into a third of that time. It is a matter of steps that need to be taken. Rough idea, where have you gotten to at this point? So you're an inspiration to a lot of people.
Yeah, of course. I won't give like exact kind of numbers on a podcast, but it's in the high multi-6 figures, closing on 7-figure mark. That's exactly kind of like where I want to take it. Is I want to just keep progressing more and more and more. But it's not always been like that. And I want people to understand it's not, for me, it's not just about the money, it's the impact that can bring. Of course, like when people throw those numbers around, that's not profit either. So for any young coach listening, it's not just a case of chase the revenue numbers, chase that, make sure you have the infrastructure, the team, the business to be able to build that. And it's what that money will bring your team as well, and the level of service you can bring, which for me is the most important.
It's the person you become to be able to do that.
100%, yeah.
The step that most people skip.
Yeah, definitely.
And if you're kind of, let's say, dialing down as to what was most successful for you as to, number one, scale the business, but number two, buy back your time as well. Across the journey at different stages, let's say starting from zero as well.
Yeah, so I think initially I was coaching 100 clients myself, initially doing all the sales calls, all the setting. When I started, I'll be completely transparent, I didn't have to do any outbound. Many years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, it was very easy. I could put up a transformation post and I'd get 10 inquiries in a day, and then you'd just be a case of getting them on a call, 10, 15-minute call. Here's a payment link of £200 a month. And then we just kind of scaled it up to that. But then that does become a cap to it. So when I first hired Billy, who's my coach, I probably had at the time pulled my numbers down to 80 so I could actually take him on. Hired my first coach at that time, and then slowly built that together. I hired like a part-time assistant to help me with managing finances. And then soon after that, when it did become a lot harder to grow and scale, that's where like outbound messaging was coming in. That's when it was like, right, have a full-time appointment setter. I've still got the first appointment setter I've ever had. He's amazing. He's been with me 3.5, 4 years now. And he's been incredible for the growth of the business. And then over time, we just layered that on. So maybe 2 appointment setters, 2 coaches, 3 coaches, 3 appointment setters, 3 coaches. And then I have hired 3 closers in the past. It's just never had success with, probably down to my own training as well, management. I'll of course take responsibility for that, but that's the natural progression I think you probably would take as well. My assistant's now full-time as of this month as well. So as an operations perspective, it's a lot more in sync together now.
You are gluing all the pieces together very well. Of course, we'll get the closer out the way and
Yeah.
make sure that's a big piece of the puzzle that we're currently working on. And for you as well, there is a journey, let's say. There is a journey of steps as to key hires, investments in the business that you made, the things that people don't like thinking about when they hear successful people, especially you're young, right? You're very, very young, which most people don't know. It's 24, I believe. 25,
yeah.
And my age right now, the main thing is you had the uncertainty throughout. People like the dream outcome that they've gotten to this place. Where were the uncertainties for you?
In terms of like investing in myself, like in terms of, I'd probably say mentors. I've probably spent over 100,000 on mentors. Easily now, and it's adding up more and more each year. But like, I will 100% say, like, with working with you, I've made a 10x return already. If you compound that 3 years down the line, people don't think that. But if you go from making $5,000 a month to $10,000 a month with a mentor, but you've paid them 5 to 10 grand as an example, you make that back in 1 month. What are you going to do over the next 2 or 3 years? And like, that's what, like, it's just an opportunity cost. Like, what you don't know, you don't know. So like, if you are not going to invest that money, you are literally like, you're costing yourself 5,000, 10,000, whatever the revenue jump you want to make is, that every single month. So it is scary making an investment. And I actually really enjoy doing it now, and I have no fear in it. But initially when I was starting out, when I was just getting started, that was something that did fear me quite a lot. But when you correlate, like for me now, it's not just about, can I make more money? I value my knowledge more than anything. So what's going to make me have more of a skill set and more capable in anything I do in life is how can I add more value to me, so I can add more value to my team, so I can add more value to my business. So that's the key thing that a lot of people don't think. It's not just about the direct revenue return. It's what you're paying for things you don't know. And like, that's probably someone that's done it to a really high level, or has studied a lot more than what you do. And I have no problem with saying to people, like, I don't know everything, because I don't, but I wouldn't be where I am today unless I'd have paid all this money from all these great mentors to help me get to the next position.
It's blatantly obvious to me why you're successful and continuing to grow. Like, people, I feel, get into this limited mind of either I know what to do, just need to do it, and that's it, but don't look at the opportunity cost of just needing to do it, or actually realizing, as you said, they don't know what they don't know, number one. But if I had to be very specific as to what I think your superpower is as well, it's being able to cut through noise as to what other people will want you to think. Because there are always going to be people that are like, okay, you should do this, 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 this. And you're very focused in on, I know I need to do this one thing because that's the only thing that I've been kind of told to do, and this is the best route. There's a lot of distractions that can get in the way, and you're able to focus down on one thing based on advice, instruction, and execute.
I wouldn't say it's always been like that, though. Like, I think I've learned more and more, and I've been chasing shiny objects probably for the previous 12 months before, maybe. And I think that's where I'd really stagnated. And I think that's something that I've come to learn. And that's something that this year I've been like, right, I'm going to listen to one thing. I know what's working. If I have the data in front of me and I can see that's where I'm making monumental progress, double down on that one thing. Like, there's millions of ways you can do this business. There's millions of ways you can scale a business, coach clients, whatever it is. But if you have one method that works, just get really good at that one method and just scale it. Do you know what I mean?
It's the patience game, and people are unwilling to play the infinite game, as in they don't realize that business, you don't win, you don't end business, you're playing for the long run. So that means that the most valuable skill that you can stack is your own knowledge base, as in the ability to learn more and the ability to expand your range of thought as well, the frame of mind that you execute decisions with. But if we're being like super tactical as well now, what did work for you in terms of, let's say, social media?
In terms of my Instagram, like, I've always been known for posting results and transformations, and that's something I'll always stick to. Some coaches don't even post results, but one thing that really works really well for me and builds a lot of trust and authority is because our results are so good. I'm biased saying that, but like, when somebody lands on the page and it has the amount of transformations I've done, you know, it's about me, my physique, it's about the clients as well. And it's very client focused, the page as well. I think that builds a lot of trust and authority on the page. So when I'm on calls, people are like, I've seen the results, see what you do. And that immediately gets more buy-in, you know, with everything that we're doing. And then value-based content is generally where I'll spread. And then I'll do a bit more of a connection-based stuff about me so I can get my own story across, my own journey, my lessons. I don't do that as much, but I'll heavily base it around value. And I've tried to create it a little bit more so they have the ability now to get a lot more reach and views. Like 2 years ago, I was probably getting 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 views. I've had a few reels go to like million, you know, multiple tens of thousands of people now. And then what I'll do with that strategy is when they are having like high value based, like step-by-step action plans. And what I coach is training, heavily training related, coach mainly men between 25 and 45. When they take that one actionable step that they can go and use, it's immediate value. And that's what I think you need, is these little bits of value. That's what, like when I watch your content, it's like, that's something that's incredibly actionable straight away. And I think like a lot of people will fluff it up, but I think if you go straight to the point, you have obviously your hook, negative hook, whatever you need to do, go straight to the point, call to action. That's what's going to build a lot more trust on the page as well. Everyone's doing like you can't do content like, you know, like there's only so many ways you can do it. I think so many people overthink it, so you have to be so unique. Just put your own spin on things. Like we're all saying the exact same bits of information in fitness. Like you can't change the law of thermodynamics, and you know you might claim to on social media and get loads of clout, but like you're trustworthy, you come across as an authority, and you put your own spin on content. It's authentically you. I think that's what will have an impact. And then all you do is once you've got that framework, is you just accelerate that with, you know, ads, literally engagement onto the page. You could retarget and direct. What me and Azri are going to be thinking about now is how can I now create social proof to my followers to now convert a little bit more as well. So that's the kind of the strategy, but that's over time. And then obviously when people are coming onto the page, it's just building genuine connections, like actually doing outbound messaging in an authentic way, not coming across salesy. Like with my outbound team, we're very genuine, very authentic. How we book calls is amazing because they provide so much value in the conversation instead of just hammering for the sales. It's the worst way you can do it in outbound messaging. And that's why like your way of outbound messaging is like a game changer, because it comes across as high value based, very authentic, booking a call, offering to help, and then conversion on the back end. Like that for me is the way I think most people should do it. Like obviously there's LinkedIn and like, for example, Andy's doing it, but I think is a genuine game. If you wanted to be able to, I might be wrong, you might correct me here, but like in terms of what I see the landscape going is that's very accessible for most people to do. It's just knowing how to do it.
I agree completely. Honestly, you nailed absolutely everything. I really do think that it's a matter of having the patience as well to see the fruits of your labor.
Yeah.
People are playing a rushed game for a sale very, very quickly, and the value component is missing in that sense. And you can tell people, if we're looking at an inversion strategy on what's needed to be successful as well, if let's say trying to get someone on a call to help them with your program, you are asking for the prospect's attention / time over messages. At that point, people hammering people with sales is not a great way to ask for the prospect's attention and time, because what you need to do is then give value for them to give you their attention / time. So that very much applies to the messaging process, which is, I feel, very, very underdone in now the outbound space, which is where we just flew in with what worked back then, what worked now, and then it's just consistently scaled. So if you are also like trying to think back as to where your most valuable resources, information, thoughts, beliefs were to, let's say, bring you up into this frame of thought, what do you feel were the pivotal moments for you? Because there's stages to this. We know where you're at right now. Where was JJ on the climb, and what actually gave you that boost up, would you say?
I think just trial and error, and then obviously just working with different mentors and different things is probably the biggest thing. Is like everyone's gonna be doing something at a level, but like start with just volume, and then you're gonna have to do volume with quality. And I think that's the key thing with everything you do, right? Like you're gonna just get better at everything, whether that is, you know, making content, or whether that is coaching, or whether that is, you know, outbound messaging, whether that is converting on terms of sales or charging a higher price point. There's nothing that's going to change as you go from 0 to 100 to 100 to 200, but you have to really think about how can you get better at one thing and how can you do more volume. Like that's the key thing, is volume and skill is what's going to lead to massive reward in the long term. So if like you're making like 3 pieces of content a week, how can you make 6 pieces of content a week? Once you make 6, can you make it better? Then can you do 12? Do you know what I mean? And then it's just that constant improvement with that as well. If you can get, I don't know, you're spending ads and you're getting, let's say £1 a follower, how can you get 50p a follower? And it's just that constant refinement now that I'm trying to do in my business. It's like nothing's really changing. It's just how can I get better and how can I help? Can I get the leaders in my team to help me make sure that this section's looked after, this section's looked after? Because when the machine is working all in sync, that's what will lead to massive growth. But the machine breaks and like you lose a member of the team, you have to fix it. And it's not something that's going to seem like it's going to be an easy path, because it's not. Like we lost an outbound setter at the start. We had a record month in January, incredible month, best one ever. We lost the outbound setter. We didn't make a sale for like 5 days because the team is just trying to fix it. So that's now taken 2 weeks to fix, and now we're flying again. But it's like, it's just one of the things that is going to happen in business, that you're always going to face challenges with what you're facing.
And for you, because you've been doing it for a while as well, it's that pattern recognition, I feel, of mistakes. You're able to spot that earlier, but it's also a matter of not panicking and then switching channels.
Yeah.
Something isn't working. Just because it hasn't worked for 1 week, need to switch, need to start a Snapchat account to generate leads, or need to go call some people and start an outbound dialing business, basically. And for you as well, what do you feel has helped you stay focused and strategize?
I'd probably say you in our calls. Like, I've never had a mentor in the last few years that I've had a call with every 2 weeks, and that's been a game changer, mate. That full hour every 2 weeks, and just been like going through everything and just keeping me focused on the one thing that I need to work on has been really, really key, I would probably say, because I do get very easily distracted. So having that's been a game changer.
The overview, I feel, is kind of needed sometimes for absolutely everyone.
Yeah.
Like, I have mentors in my business, and I'm also the same as well. There's always new strategies, always something that can be more tempting than the other. Grass is always greener. It's just easier to see from the outside at a high level. So if also you're able to maybe pick out what other people may have in their minds, what do you feel is the biggest myth that you see in the online coaching industry right now?
The biggest myth
about scaling, let's say.
Maybe that you need to have loads of followers. I don't have a big following, big following. It's getting a lot bigger with ads, but I've not built that through viral traffic or anything like that. If you can build a very, very successful business, but literally just having a few thousand followers, if you can nurture those followers properly, it is a big thing. I don't think you have to have massive experience now either. I think maybe years and years ago, it was done off results and reputation only. But like what I'm seeing now is like attention is going to be like skill. Like it doesn't matter how good of a coach you are. And I say this to all the good coaches out there. Like if it doesn't matter how good of a coach you are now, you need to still do the marketing. You still need to do the sales, because you're going to get left behind. The competition now is so important and everyone's raising the bar. So like if you are an amazing coach and you do the marketing and sales, imagine how good of a business you're going to have, and imagine how much impact you can make. More importantly, that's the biggest thing that I would probably say is like, you need to focus on the business marketing now, because it's not like it used to be.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
The space is getting bigger. I also don't think it's a matter of it's getting saturated. It's just, you just have to be better.
Yeah.
And it's not difficult to get better. I always say, like, you can find this information online, go read this before and then come back to us. Or like, here's an SOP. You should probably read this first before you come back to us. At this point, like, it's not a matter of being able to find information, it's executing on that. But then, at a certain level, when we're scaling, strategizing, that makes sense. But it's also a matter of like, how can you dial in on the deficiencies? Because, there's also people who are influencers. Like, how can I spend 8 hours a day getting the next 100,000 followers, right? At that point, your outbound levels or your lead generation is at 5%. If we could just pull that 5% to even 30%, the actual revenue coming in the business for you to sustain scale is a lot more impactful, instead of, taking organic marketing content from 90% to 100%. And it's the same applies for everyone. It's like priorities, and then more important priorities for the majority of people, which is marketing and sales. I actually think advertising and sales is like the bottleneck for nearly everyone that's pushing towards anything 7 figures a year. What do you think are the biggest milestones that you need to go through to get to a sustainable, consistent business, which is let's say, higher revenue generating?
Yeah. I'd probably say for me, building out a solid sales team is something I've always struggled to do and never been able to do with success. I think that's something that is scary for me, but given that, offloading that is my dream. Like if I could only do 1 or 2 sales calls a day, that would make me so much more powerful in terms of marketing and in terms of my thought process to think on the business. And that's what's like, at the minute I have 7 sales calls on my calendar this afternoon and I don't have time to think, and I am still coaching as well. So my bandwidth gets taken up and my energy can get very, very low. I'm really focusing on maintaining my energy with my health, my nutrition, sleep, everything like that, so I can perform. But doing that consistently for 2-3 years, if I was from now, it wouldn't be sustainable. And for me now, it's not just about building a business that makes loads of money. It's that buys back time for me and the life I want to live. Like it's not really an enjoyable process doing 4, 5, 6 sales calls a day. It might be needed at a period of time, but I would love to build that sales team so everything's managed. I can still obviously do a bit and I want to manage the team every single day and train them, but I know I can be a better marketer. I can build a better business when I have more time to focus on the business instead of just working in it, trying to generate revenue. That would be a game changer for me. I think that if we can build over the next 6 months would be a dream.
I was just about to ask, where do you see your business as well as yourself in the next, let's say, 6 to 12 months?
I'd like to do a 25-30% increase for sure. That would be a big jump. And it would be me probably having 15 hours back. Instead of a 70-hour week, we have like a 45, 50 maybe. That would be a dream, and to pull myself back out of that and to give people in the business more leadership roles as well and bring them more into it. Because at the minute, I feel like I'm organizing, managing the whole thing. And I feel like I can level up the team to be able to get everyone rowing in the same boat a little bit further and faster instead of just doing a good job, but then having to manage it all, having like managers a little bit more in place for each section is kind of where I'd be looking to get to.
Very, very switched on answer, honestly. I think it takes a lot to understand the tangible kind of targets that you're going for, but then also when you're setting those goals for yourself as well, how do we delete more than add stuff on again and again? Because I think it's more needed. Well, what do you need to remove from your calendar to be able to get to the next level? It's a very, very good long-term way of thinking. And as well, if you had to put it down to one resource, one book that you feel that would have, say, changed a certain way of thinking or was most beneficial for you, what would you say it would be?
I'm more of a podcast person. Podcast, YouTubes, listening to people, honestly, it sounds cliche, like Dan Martell, Alex Hormozy, people like that who have been there like many, many years ago and have built massive businesses. They all say the exact same thing. And it must work. If the people at the very top are still saying the same things as what you hear all the time, there must be some truth to it. And I know it's hard to believe and it's like, it's hard to do, but they've been through it. They've failed at it many times and built these massive organizations. So listening to people like that for me and listening to people like yourself who have managed to exit a fitness business and complete remove and see how you've done it that's kind of like the roadmap that everyone, it's been done before many times. So we just follow the roadmap, right? Like it's instead of like reinventing the wheel, thinking I've got to coach 100 plus clients, take 50 sales calls a week. It's never going to happen. So like there's only so much resource you have and that's your time. So what we've really got to try and do is buy back the time as much as possible to give yourself the time, money and freedom that you want.
I was the exact same as you. It was always podcasts, YouTube, and then audiobooks at a certain point.
Yeah.
But what you just said was super, super important. Leveraging your time to have a higher dollar per hour and leveraging time to do more, let's say, efficient revenue generating activities, whether it's now or whether it's for down the line to build a sustainable business. So any closing thoughts, JJ?
The first time in a long few years now that I feel really driven and really motivated. I can finally see the life that I want ahead of me. And that's been really hard to see for a long time. I've been stuck in it for a very long time. And I feel like if I could nail this, let's say 6 to 12 months ahead of me, it would give me everything I've ever wanted from a fitness business and more. Like it'd be not only the money, but the freedom, the impact and the team to be able to help literally hundreds and hundreds of people every single year, being able to do that at such a high level, but being able to hire my team and have a big organization is something I'd be really proud of. I never thought it would be possible, to be honest, but now I can start to see it happen. And I feel like it's 6 to 12 months away from being exactly how I want it to be.
Very much respect it. And I honestly think it's more inevitable than anything else. So thank you very, very much, AJ. I appreciate your time.